Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Blokes podcast. Ryan Hassan from the Centre for Healing here, joined as always by Nick, the Sultan of Still Sutherland, just repping the Myndfit uniform today. Nico, how are you?
Concerned.
Oh, are you concerned because you just booked golf for us on Saturday and you're concerned at how much I'm going to just bend you over, pull your little panties down and give you a flogging? It's something else, isn't it?
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay.
no,
What are you concerned about? Are you concerned about our culture and society at large?
no.
Oh, okay. What is it? Concerned about yourself?
You keep asking a question and then answering it.
Because you
Do you
take
know how to hold
forever.
space for somebody?
Okay. No, I should.
You think
All right. You
so?
ready? You ready?
Oh, that's the space for me to.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that I'm sitting here looking at you and I'm seeing a very red nostril, and I'm just worried if you've fallen back into the cesspool.
No, I haven't.
Are you back on the gear?
No.
Are you,
I'm,
down
I'm,
that?
I've got a, remember the thing I had in Vietnam? We're on the golf trip. We've all got these, remember I had the thing on my nose? You probably don't remember, no.
No,
You do?
I was too busy vomiting out of every hole in my body.
You were too. Um, yeah, no, just a little thing I get on my nose every now and then. It's when we have a lack of sleep, maybe in combination with a bit of stress, and then our physical body, alerts us to that in various ways.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I get. It's so funny. Melissa, she'll get like her left trap, this spot, just this knot up there. I tend to get this sort of thing on my nose, and then my lower back, normally on my left side, plays up. So it's always just a sign. We just went away, and we had a great time actually. School holidays, went up to Queensland, did all the theme parks with young Tommy Brave, but we were like sleeping
Yeah, I
all
mean,
in.
you use time to get yourself into the theme
It was
parks.
pretty fun. It
Yeah.
was they were pretty fun. Um, I and it was good because he's like old enough now to do pretty much most of the rides. But yeah, we're all sleeping in the one room, and I'm a very light sleeper, and just didn't have great sleep while I was up there. So I start to get some physical stresses and symptoms, and that's where I'm at. So no, I'm not back on the gear. That was my long-winded way of saying no.
Mm.
There'll be
You're
signs. I
definitely a
won't. I won't be
painter, aren't
jumping
you?
on a podcast if I'm back on the gear.
Okay. There'll be signs. Just scratching on the first tee on Saturday morning. It's been for a while.
Yeah.
Um, uh, as I said, you're a painter. Have we spoken about painters and pointers?
No.
So
Did you say I'm a
it's not a,
painter?
yes.
Right. What does that mean?
Yeah. Um, so there's two types of people in terms of communication. There's painters and pointers. It doesn't mean that you're one absolutely all the time, but have a tendency. So I'm a painter too. I think that's why we're good at what we do and podcasts and everything, because we paint a picture with our words. Pointers just get to the point. Hurry up, get to the point. What's the next thing? Next thing? Next thing? So in my social life, I'm a painter, but at work, I'm a pointer because we've got time restrictions with clients and everything. So need to be a bit more succinct or precise. So it's interesting with couples, doing a mindful program individually. When they learn that, oh, I'm a painter and they're a pointer, oh, it makes sense because she's always rushing me. She's always saying, and I don't feel heard by her. And the other one's like, oh, he just goes on and on and on, and just and so that's the egos involved going, I wish you were more like me, and I wish you were more like me. And so having this awareness of our differences really puts us in a wonderful position when we go, oh, all right, well, maybe we need to meet them, or maybe there's times where I need to be a bit more expressive and a bit more, give a bit more content, and maybe I need to, hold back a little bit sometimes. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, yeah. You're making me think about maybe different times that I'm a painter and a pointer. And I think I prefer to communicate not now, because like we're doing a podcast and we've got a set aside amount of time just to talk, So, I don't think pointing is kind of a very effective language communication style. But I think I like, in general terms, communicating with pointers because I tend to like if someone's talking to me and I guess it's if I'm in a process of trying to do something and I'm like, I just want you to get to the point, like hurry up, and I'll tune out very quickly. Melissa would laugh at me because when we're at the centre and we'd have meetings or we'd be like interviewing a new staff member, and halfway through the meeting, I'd just get up and walk out. and, and the first couple of times, Melissa's like, "Fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, I like got the point. Like I got what I wanted out of the meeting. There's no point. Like I'm just going to sit there and dissociate. And so after a while, Mel would tell the people like, "Oh, if Ryan just gets up and walks out, don't take it personally." That's just him.
That is classic. Um, yeah. So yeah, we obviously use it. M's a pointer. She's like, just get to the point, get to the point. And when she communicates to me, there's many times where I have to ask her for more information. Just last night, she was in the kitchen and I was in the bedroom, and she yells out, "Does this thing need washing?" And I'm like, "Honey, I'm in a different room at the other end of the house. I don't have X-ray vision. I can't see through walls. Can you please describe what
That,
this thing
that
is
could be
for me?"
anything.
It could be anything. And I'll be at the shop and she'll send me a text. Can you get bread? I'm like, I'm standing in the bakery section. There is 50 different types of bread. Can I have some more information, please? Which bread would you like? So her point of communication can be very challenging for me at times, and my painter communication can be challenging for her at times.
Yeah. It's sort of understanding we have these different styles. Does this need washing? Sorry.
I don't know. I can't see it. I don't know what it is. How
I'll sometimes,
how
I'll
can I make it
sometimes,
visible?
and this is where Melissa struggles with me, and fair enough. I'll sometimes have conversations in my head with her that haven't actually happened. And so then I'll just I'll be like, yeah, sorry, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm halfway through a conversation. She's like, what in the hell are you actually talking about? And I'm like, oh, I haven't actually told you yet. We've just had that conversation up here.
Em and I were talking about this on the weekend. We had a wonderfully nourishing weekend, just the two of us, and lots of intimacy in terms of just feeling close and communicative and
Wow,
connected.
chicka wow, wow.
I didn't know we had some sound effects panels now.
I feel that dude from Michael Winslow from Police Academy. It was
Yeah.
pretty good, wasn't it?
It's okay. Um, and we were talking about a lot of conflict in our relationship comes from, and this is typical across the board for all relationships, misunderstanding and miscommunication. And so something we started to hear was, I said this, no, you didn't. And we get caught in this trap sometimes of trying to convince the other person of our reality. And what we came up with, instead of doing that, we're like, okay, well, this is what I heard, and this is what I recall saying. And so it's not telling the other person absolutely what happened. This is the truth. So we're trying to just keep some space there to. Oh, okay. Well, because Em does it as well. She will have a conversation in her head and forget that she's communicated to me, and she genuinely believes that she's told me, but I've been tuned in to her and guarantee that she hasn't said it. But instead of me saying no, you didn't say it, and creating an argument and conflict about it, I'm like, right, hon, I believe you believe that you said it, but I can't recall hearing you say it.
Yeah. Well, that's a much softer way of approaching it. There's like we're all having an individual experience. That's what makes being a human being interesting, because our senses are recording input and then it's being filtered through our mind and our subconscious and our psyche, and it's rendered in front of us, and we're having a very unique experience. So if there's two people having an individual experience that is different. Then there's some objective reality that no one knows because we all have human stuff. And so being aware of that, it's like, okay, we're all arguing for what's the objective truth, but in actual fact, we don't know. Because, I may swear that, yeah, Melissa didn't say that to me. Maybe she did, and I wasn't paying attention for some reason. We don't know. And when, like, trying to then argue about that reality doesn't get us anywhere except for more frustrated towards the people that we love the most.
Yeah, trying to convince the person you love of your truth because you're holding on to it and it's important for you to have them believe your truth or to buy into your truth. It's just going to create issues.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing Melissa's really taught me is when we first got into the relationship, because she would always call me out on it, which is what you should do in a good relationship, is just
Stay off
that
the
kind of
smack.
need. That was the first bit. And then once I got off the smack, she's like, get back on the smack. You're so fucking annoying. Was my need to be not no, okay, I call it need. My need to be right, and be seen to be right. So, I definitely, had that in me. And that's like comes from like a perfectionist part, not wanting to be wrong, feeling less than if I'm wrong and all that.
You have a fascinating ego. It's
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 really
yeah, I love it.
it's really interesting to sit and observe you and when you get kidnapped by your ego, when your ego takes over, it's a wild ride, man.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
beautiful, and
fun.
I do the same. I'm not judging. I'm not saying anything other than it's just I love watching it. You have a really fascinating ego.
I do. And so it's great now when I work with my ego because like I understand it very well. And so I wouldn't recommend this a
What's its
lot to,
name?
I,
You want to name it?
Brian. It's Brian.
Okay.
Because Melissa, we call him Brian. And my ex-wife had this as well. They always have these because I'm extraordinarily loyal. Like I would never cheat on anyone. Like if I go to a cafe and like, speak to people there, I won't go to another cafe ever because I feel like I'm cheating on that cafe, even if we move to a different area. I've got this really strong loyalty part. Anyway, both yeah, Melissa and my ex-wife would always have these dreams like on a regular basis that I'm a fucking asshole and I treat them like shit. I'm cheating on them, all this kind of stuff. So we call that Brian. So Melissa will get up and go, yeah, Brian was at it again last night. And so Brian's probably a good name for my ego, but I know him so well now that I understand because ego can be a good motivation, in a lot of ways. And I remember when we moved down
But what?
to,
What do you mean? What do you mean by it can be good
I'll
motivation?
give you an example. Um, when we moved down to the beach in Frankston there, and we're living in a really nice house and everything, but we were just renting, and all the neighbours were owners and that, and they were quite successful and quite wealthy. And I'd be having wines at the beach with them, and they'd be talking about this bloody investment's popped up, and then one would go, yeah, I might pop 200 grand into it. They'll have a spare 200 grand to do that, and so I could feel my ego feeling really deficient. And so what I do, Ryan, like I play with it and I actually exacerbate that feeling, knowing full well what I'm doing and I'm not getting emotionally disturbed. But I'm like, yeah, you're sort of well behind these guys. Like, you better lift your game. Well, that's pretty embarrassing for you. And then so I'm okay. And then I feel my ego going, yeah. And then my ego just gets incredibly motivated and I get to work and I start making, new things for work or making good decisions with money and everything. So I kind of use my ego, even if it seems in a negative way, it seems to work for me. It's like I'm playing with it. It's like I'm poking it going, come on, come on. I know this is going to get you moving. And it does. It gets me moving.
That's yeah, that's part of the fascination of your ego. It's what an interesting way of working with it. It's because from our perspective, the ego really operates from those three beliefs of I must be perfect, I must be loved and liked, and if I'm right all the time, then people will love and like me. And you could hear that with you earlier. And I must get what I want, which is for people to buy into what I'm selling and believe my truth. And it's that creates a lot of the anxiety, and that creates us to try and control and manipulate the world. That makes us try to keep up with the Joneses, and start making poor financial decisions. And yeah, so we do a lot of work with naming the ego for clients because it creates that separation, and they can then identify, this is Brian's taking it. Brian's trying to make an executive decision. Brian's trying to be in the relationship with my wife. That's not going to bode well. So it gives us the ability to intervene and set internal boundaries as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian, it's like I'm in like this in Antarctica or something in the snow, and I've got the sled, and Brian's the Huskies, at the front. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
in that instance, like Brian gets a little bit like, "Arr!" And then I keep poking it, knowing that if I poke it, then these Huskies will take me wherever I want to go. It's like this, that would take me there. It's like when people say like, oh, you won't be able to do that. And so the old me would get disturbed at that and go, oh, can't I, motherfucker? We'll see about that. And then I'll go about doing something, but it'll be very like, it won't be enjoyable, like the process, because it's coming the
yeah,
fuel
and it'll
source.
be deficiency driven, won't it?
Yeah. Whereas now I'll do the same thing, but it's like there's that separation there. So I'm not saturated in the ego and think that's who I am. So I can still use that as a motivation, but I'm smiling the whole time. Like even when the ego is like agitated and trying to do something, I'm internally smiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. A metaphor we use is the eye behind the eye, so the conscious awareness of the fact that Ryan exists, and Ryan within him has a part called Brian, which is the ego, or whatever. And so Ryan is the horse, and then the conscious awareness is the rider. And when Brian, which is part of the horse, takes over and starts to wander off the path, then we have that as the awareness. We can just go, all right, just come back onto the path. Come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
just
This is great. Okay, this is now making more sense to me in what I'm trying to say because what I'm doing now is if the horse gets like this motivation goes "Arr," and wants to go in that
yeah,
direction, I as the rider go, yeah, I actually want to go in that direction. So let it go. However,
yeah,
if it goes "Arr," and wants to go in the direction of drinking and taking drugs, arguing with my, friend or Melissa or all that, then I'm like, no, 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 we're not. That's not the way we're going. So it's like it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
to me because to me, I've found working with the ego so much more effective than going, well, that's not who I am, so I'm gonna not acknowledge that. And that's not
Deny it.
it's like
And
it's like
ironically, that's
people,
the ego trying to deny itself.
yeah, yeah. It's the same like a lot of people in spiritual circles will, deny, it's like, well, we're not human, so I'm not the ego, but I'm not even this body either. So it's like they really
Mm.
don't honor and they want to neglect this meat suit that we're so lucky to have. And I think we are, spirit, soul, energy, all that, but we're also a human being with arms and legs and an ego.
I said to a client the other day, his wife is on a. I think I might have said this on the last podcast with Mitch. Um, that
I wouldn't know. I
she's
didn't
she's sort of
listen.
yeah, I know. She's a spiritual warrior. And she's
Warrior
gone
or
from really
warrior?
a warrior.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So she's gone from struggling in her humanness, and sort of had this experience, and realized that she's not just a human, but she's fled the humanness and she's ended up in the spiritualness now. But she's just stuck at the other end of the spectrum, which is equally, not going to work for her. So she had this client that, my understanding is the spiritual work is done through our human experience. The spirit, soul, or whatever you want to call it, will evolve through our humanity, through our being a human, and having flaws and having egos and having neuroses and having desires for things to be a certain way. And that's, when we do the work as a human, that helps us to evolve on that spiritual plane.
Yeah, we get obviously a lot of people coming in to work with us who are new to it all. They just identified with their ego, their identity, and they're not really connected to anything greater. And they come in and we have to, do a lot of work. But we also get exactly what you're talking about. So many people who've gone down the path of self-help and then therapy and then found their way to sort of spiritual circles and have ended up normally for many, many years trying to bypass the human experience, which is a form of escapism. It's just like, let me escape, escape, escape. And as soon as I feel my humanness, if that's uncomfortable, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck this human body and this mind and ego and all that. Let me quickly go and try and have some sort of other spiritual experience to not be with that. So in that instance, it's like trying to bring those people back down. It's like, come back and be human again. Don't neglect the fact that you're connected to spirit and something greater and all that, but like, come back and be human because it's all going to be over. Like, fucking hell, I turned 41 last month. It's like, my old man, he's in hospital at the minute. He's going to be okay. But like, I know there's not, a hell of a lot of time left. And before we blink, we won't be human. And who knows what's next? We might go back to that source of spirit or energy. But it's like, I guarantee you, whatever's next, we're not going to be able to, drink tea or coffee and, have sex and play golf and all that kind of thing. So it's like, do it while we're here. We're not going to be able to probably feel joy and happiness, but also grief and sadness and pain and all that. So embrace it.
And be present with it all and understand it for what it is. It's all perfect. It's all equally important. That's a trap we fall into is preferring the nice stuff, the joy and the comfort and all that, and have an aversion to the unpleasant stuff. And people have that binary perception of them. That's good and that's bad, or that's right and that's wrong, or whatever. And when you give that up and understand it's all equal, then it really does um, deepen the human experience for me anyway.
Yeah. I've been trying the
Oh,
last
this is who you are.
probably a year or so, maybe a year to 18 months. I've been trying to just with physical pain, just trying to do that. It's like, just can I, whatever, if I'm in physical pain, it's like, is this okay? Can I be with this? Without the labeling or this needs to go away. What do I need to do? It's like, this is okay too. Like, can I sit here and hold and experience whatever pain I'm in? And so,
Well,
because I,
that's what a Vipassana retreat is. It's just sitting in stillness and noticing when
mm,
the sensations communicating discomfort come into your awareness and not having an aversion to them. Because as soon as you have an aversion to them, now you're in a relationship with it. Now you're feeding it time and energy. Even though you think you're holding it at bay or wishing it to go away, you're still keeping it there when it's temporary. It's going to come and it's going to go. So the whole purpose of sitting in stillness for those meditations in the 10-day retreat is to really learn how to suffer. And it's a pretty good segue into the theme that I had today. I don't know if you heard, but Rory McIlroy won the Masters.
oh, who's that and what's the Masters?
Look it up. It's on Pornhub. It's is a grand slammer.
Yeah.
Won all four majors.
How
Sixth
this,
person ever.
where is this segue going?
Well, because I marinated in it for the whole week, the whole 4 days. The tournament goes for 4 days, so I block my calendar out. I push my family away, and I just create a little space for myself to marinate in for
Just
4 days.
imagine
And
you
I
like, get the
rode the
fuck out
roller
of here,
coaster.
pushing everyone away.
Yeah, what are you doing here? Leave. Gosh. Um, and yes, I was watching not only the rounds, but I was watching all the interviews and the post round analysis and everything. Um, and I heard some fascinating stuff. And one of them was one of the commentators interviewed a past champion or multiple past champion who is for the non-golfers out there, he was like a Michael Schumacher in Formula One or a Kelly Slater in golf. He's one of the greatest of all times in the sport, Jack Nicklaus. And he was interviewing Jack, and he said, I've heard a rumor, I've heard a bit of a, what do they call it? Not an old wives' tale, Um, I've heard a bit of a fable, and I want to check in with you whether this is accurate or not. And Jack's like, all right. And he said, so I said to Jack, I said, I heard you used to drive in the slow lane between tournaments. So this is back in the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s. I heard you used to drive between tournaments, drive in the slow lane behind slow people on your way to the next tournament. And Jack's like, oh yes. And he's like, why? Why did you do that? He goes, oh, that was just me. Um, and my fucking brain exploded when I heard this. He goes, I realized I had to learn how to suffer. And I was like, what the hell? Coming from this dude? He's like, yeah, it was like I realized that during a round, I wouldn't always be going at my pace, and that there'd be adversity, there'd be challenges, there'd be times where I'd be impatient or whatever. So I just thought, but I was obviously working my physical game on the range before the tournament, but between driving from one tournament to the other, why not just drive in the slow lane and cultivate this patience? And I was like, oh my god, no wonder you're a fucking goat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I heard Gary Player saying the same thing. I think he mentioned that Jack did it too. So it's like but two of the greats both practicing patience and suffering.
Yeah.
It
And
ties
then
into
and then
like,
they were interviewing and then they interviewed Rory and Rory spoke about stoicism and he said it's not what happens to you, it's about how you respond to things. And so I'm just glad the family wasn't there to witness
well,
anything because it was
it's all of these, well, great athletes employing those mental reps that you always talk about. It's like even
and
Singer,
you
who I
just
bring up
shared
on the,
when we're speaking before the podcast, before recording, you shared a story. And so what fundamentally you're talking about is resilience. Like, just to give the listeners a synopsis, um, Rory McIlroy was a very celebrated golfer, lots of early success, won three of the four major tournaments. And then praise was being handed to him. Oh, it's no doubt he's going to win the fourth major and become one of only six people to ever do that in the history of the sport. And he's gone 10 years without winning it. And he's come close and he's just had some meltdowns and epic failures and everything. And then he's finally leading, and then he hits balls in the water and has double bogeys, but then he hits the most miraculous shots, and it was all just resilience. And golf is a great metaphor for life because in life we're going to have bogeys and double bogeys. We're going to make mistakes of different proportions to different degrees, and we're going to have successes the same. So we're going to have birdies and eagles, and it's going to be wonderful. But what Rory didn't do was, and I would love you to share your story with the listeners earlier, he didn't allow his mind to crumble and to unravel, which it had done previously in the past. It took him 10 years to become so complete, so well rounded mentally and physically, that he was then able to achieve what only five other people had done.
yeah, well, he's got the skill and the talent and the game to win it, above
Oh,
anyone else playing golf. He's just incredible. But, to have that
but
resilience.
it revealed his mental. I don't like using the word weaknesses. It revealed his mental fragility, I suppose, or his mental errors.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why you said golf's a great metaphor for life. And it's because it's a game of imperfection. It's a game of mistakes and like how big are the mistakes and how well can you rebound from them and be resilient to them. Even the best golfers on the planet are like, oh, I maybe hit two shots that whole round that were what I wanted. The rest were all mistakes. It takes so much time
Or
that
you hit a great shot, you hit the shot you wanted, and as soon as it leaves the club face, it's out of your control. So the wind could blow suddenly and hit the ball into the water, or you could end up in a divot, or
it's a
just
sprinkler head.
anything can happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Hit a sprinkler head, any of those kind of things.
Yep.
And you're out there for what, 4.5 hours. you're hitting balls, the actual time of playing the sport of hitting balls is probably a minute or two, and the rest of the time you're just with your thoughts and you're thinking and you're getting emotionally disturbed. You're thinking about that. You're starting to develop expectations around what's happening. If you're playing well, you're feeling defeated in one
Oh,
moment, then a moment
you
later you
very
can be
quickly go into the
elated.
future and go, oh, I'm gonna shoot my best score ever, and you're only in the ninth hole.
Yeah. And so it's such a game of managing your internal state. And that's why I think it is a great metaphor for life. And you'll see, I was actually reading a sports psychologist who deals with golfers, and they were just talking about you can also, if you play with someone a bit, you can really get a glimpse into how their actual life at home and everything is going
Yeah.
by seeing them on the course. Because the way, people will get that's why so many big, like it's a bit of a cliche, but big business deals and things are done on a golf course. Because like if I'm going to enter into a huge partnership here with lots of money at line, I need to see who this person is.
Mm.
Are they losing the plot, throwing clubs? Are they cheating? What are their true colors all about? And it's a great place to do that. And
It's very
I've,
revealing. It just
yeah,
reveals their nature.
I've learned so much about myself the last few years playing
Well,
golf.
it's
And
interesting because your physical game, like Rory, your physical game was well above mine. You could hit a ball a mile, and you know you could hit shots that I couldn't. But I would often beat you, as listeners would have learned during our Dong Cup clashes, and lots of other times as well.
okay,
Um,
get your point. Oh, I'm a pointer now.
and
Be a pointer.
but my mental game was superior to yours, and for years I was watching Brian try and play a hole of golf and not getting what he wanted and having tantrums and getting frustrated. And no, Brian is your inner caddy. And Brian was not working for you. Brian, you're standing on the tee and Brian's like, oh, you're just a shit golfer. You're just such a loser. I can't believe you're gonna hit this in the water. How have you made it this far, you fucking pathetic idiot? And and you're expecting, and then Brian's expecting also to shoot really good scores and to play really well. And the math just wasn't adding up. And there's been a significant shift, and the evidence is absolutely clear because your handicaps come racing down. That when your mental game, you finally started to. I know all the seeds I planted might have finally borne fruit, or might have dawned. I don't
Love
know
how
what
you're trying
happened,
to
but
take credit for this, but keep going.
of course I am. Yes, wholeheartedly. And because you said, I finally started listening to you. I think I recall hearing you say that. And I was so stoked because I'm like, your potential was so high, but your mind was holding you back. The handbrake was on.
Yeah, and I think we all like have blind spots, and it's like sometimes when you do have, I guess, better physical capabilities than a lot of other people, it's something you're like, well, all I have to do is just keep getting better at that, and things will improve. And then the issue then becomes I could go out and shoot this amazing round, but then shoot six terrible rounds in a row. But you're like, I know what my potential is. I just need to do that more. And when really for me, like I had to learn, yeah, to be more resilient, not be so hard on myself, let go of expectation, be more consistent. This is off the golf course as well, but my life has been one of inconsistencies, of massive highs, huge lows, and that kind of thing. So I've had to learn to be more level. And, so that's why I think, yeah, golf and other sports as well, but this is the one that we kind of love, is such a great mirror into our lives, but also we can improve off the course by improving on the course when it comes to our mental and emotional state.
Yeah, I mean, if people see golf as a metaphor for life and start to apply this stuff on the course, it's only going to help them off the course and vice versa as well. So I remember working with an AFL player and physically above and beyond, 90% of other players. But when the recruiters would turn up, he would go into fight, flight, and freeze. He'd start to shut down. Anxiety would kick in and take over, and because he had attachments to getting recruited. We speak about it often. The irony is, as soon as you form a desire for something, you typically get the opposite because it creates dysfunction. Your mind gets distorted, your nervous system gets dysregulated, and they collectively equal this dysfunction. So you can't actually perform at your optimum because you're tight and you're tense and you're constricted and there's no flexibility and you're just not present. You're not free to allow the physical attributes to shine. And that's all because there's nothing supporting it. There's nothing underpinning that in terms of the psychological or mental attributes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that I always notice it it's like a knot, internally. Like if it's golf, you get out there, it's like, I have to play well today. And it's like this knot, whereas if you go there and go, oh, I've put in the practice and now let's see what happens. I'm just here to, be present and enjoy the process of what I'm doing, then that knot relaxes, and invariably, when those knots relax, I mean, I don't think whether it's sport, an activity, even work, life in general, we can't enter any type of like flow state where life becomes really awesome if that knot is present.
No, and that knot is a byproduct or a symptom of having attachments to desired outcomes. So for clients, they're like, well, how do I progress and how do I achieve? How do I get better? And I'm like, great question. We don't want to go from having all these desires and being really angsty to not caring at all. We've got to find that middle ground and say, all right, let's set goals. The goal for today is to shoot 36 points at golf in Stableford terms, or to shoot level par or whatever. All right, we're 4 holes in and I've made 2 double bogeys already. So I'm already 4 shots down and pretty early on. All right, well let's see what's in me. But if you start forcing it and pushing it, you're going to make more mistakes. So this is where we need to relax and trust and stay present. And then after 9 holes, we assess again and go, all right, well, 36 points isn't probably realistic now. And this is where we become flexible and adaptive. All right, a new goal is going to be 30 points. And if I walk off with 30 points, I'm going to feel a sense of achievement and a sense of satisfaction and yeah, I really enjoyed mine. That is the new definition of success.
I, I heard, I don't know if you heard this on, I think it was Fat Perez on Bob Does Sports, like talking about golf and how, when you rock up on the day and you have to manage expectations. And he goes, you got to dance with the girl you brought, which is like how your swing is that day. He goes, you can't rock up. He goes, you can't rock up, start, with the girl you've got and then go talk to the 9 out of 10 girl at the bar because he goes, you got to like dance with the girl that you brought. Don't try and change things or think things were better. So in golf terms, that means like, if you're not a little bit off, it's like, how do I still manage and score and have fun today? And get better in the long term, even though I haven't got my best on this particular occasion. Because in life, we don't have our best on a moment to moment, day to day basis with whatever we do. If I assume that I'm going to be at my best every day in my relationship at work, with my friendships, at my activities, then that's when those knots start to form. Because as soon as I wake up and I'm feeling a little bit off, then that knot just grabs and goes, you got to be at your best. What are you doing? And we then have to live up to some unrealistic fantasy and ideal that doesn't
So
exist.
irrational. How many golfers would turn up, not have had no lessons, don't even warm up before the round, start drinking heaps of beers or whatever during the round, and walk off really shitty because they didn't play well. Like
Yeah,
it's just math. It's
it's like, I go out and play bloody poker machines 4 nights a week, spend heaps of money on booze and
oh
all that
yeah.
kind of stuff. And then I did at one point, not now. And then at the end of the week, like complaining, oh, I haven't got any money. This is bullshit. It's like, what are you talking about?
How the fuck did this happen?
Yeah, how did I end up here? Wow, let me just show you the replay of your last week. I'll show you how you end up here.
X plus Y equals Z. But so let's link it back to earlier. I mean, this is Brian. My ego's name's Dude. So if Dude rocks up to the golf course, then the stars may align, and and I may shoot a great. I remember playing around the other day, and you were talking about some of your thing. Was it recent results based purely off your mental game and not letting your mind unravel? Um, I hit the shot and it was just a ball was below my feet. Like I've somehow gained some length. The surgery went really well, so
Yeah, one of those pumps, was it?
I've got 3.5 inches now. Um, so I've somehow gained some length, especially off the tee. So my drives are going further, and so I've got to learn to take different lines off the tee if it's like a dog leg or whatever. So I've hit this ball where I thought it'd be great, and it's in the rough a little bit. It's gone through the fairway. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't been here before. Anyway, I had a little wedge in, and ball was below my feet, and caught it a bit thin, and it's ended up on like the side of a hill just behind the green. Diabolical position. And in the past, I would have like, oh, it's fucked. Why'd I hit? I still would have been holding onto my drive. I would have been in the past ruminating about the drive and hung up on where that should have been. So you immediately step out of the reality of what is, and you're in the reality of what should, could, or would have ideally have happened, which is an absolutely distorted reality and irrational. It doesn't exist. Um, and so, but in that moment, I was like, oh, I've bladed this wedge. Now it's on a hill at the back of the green. Here's an opportunity. So I've gone up to it and I'm like, said to these dudes I was playing with, strangers. So watch out, boys. I'm not sure where this is going to go. Anyway, hit this great shot and sunk the putt and walked off with a very satisfying par. And they were like, oh, mate, that was epic. That was great. Just a. And dude didn't turn up to receive their accolades. They weren't pumped. I didn't have tires to pump up. I was just like, oh, thanks. I acknowledged it. Cheers for that. Appreciate it. But you can't allow people to affect you can't allow the external to determine the internal.
Yeah, I think when we lose our own internal like compass and a lot of it's our, I guess, our respective self, then we do. I love that term you just said. I didn't have tires to be pumped up. That's a good one. So it's like, someone can compliment you or whatever, and you're like, oh, thank you. And you're grateful that, someone has said that, but
Yeah,
it hasn't affected your sense of self or what you think of
it
yourself. It
hasn't
has
hasn't
absolutely no
altered
bearing.
me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great place to
But
be.
converse, but this is where it's equal. Conversely, if they had have said, "Mate, your wedge was shithouse," they wouldn't have deflated my tires
Yeah.
because there's no tires to inflate or deflate. So they're just offering, and I get to choose what I do with that. And wherever the ball ends up is it just is. You don't have to apply meaning to it. If you're holding on to these expectations or desires to for it to be in the perfect position all the time, then I don't know how you're going to perform very well. And that's not
And
just on golf course, but in life.
no, that's what I'm thinking. Like, same thing, relationships and anything in life. It's like, what do we have an expectation that doesn't match reality? When I'm dealing with a situation, am I still like worried about the drive? Meaning I'm worried about something she or he said 3 days ago that should have been dealt with, and I'm not dealing with the present moment. It's those moments of taking a deep breath and going, okay, here's Dude or here's Brian. They've come to the forefront, but the horse isn't what's steering the show here. I'm steering the show, and we can take a
Mm.
deep breath, reset, realize I'm fine as a human being. This has no actual bearing on my value as being here. And then we can go about dealing with that moment, and we'll deal with things so much better, not just golf, but anything in life if we're doing it from that place.
Yeah, I was just thinking about one of the players in the Masters, a young Swedish dude who's going to, I imagine he will win a lot. Ludvig Oberg. He triple bogeyed the last, and people were like, "Oh, he lost $500,000 in the last two holes." I think he bogeyed and triple bogeyed.
Ridiculous thing to say.
And I'm like, how can you lose something you don't have? Like he didn't have five. He didn't earn $500,000, or he didn't. It's just but and that's what your focus is on. It's like the last two holes of a 72-hole tournament, and you're focusing on the two holes that he struggled with. Like,
Well, he decided that he wanted to win, and in order to win, had to be more aggressive and risk making a big number. And he made that choice, and he did it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the people who comment that and go, "Oh, this is what he lost," that's not a mindset that he has. Like, don't worry about him. He's going to be fine because not because he's like going to be a great golfer and make lots of money and already has, but he's going to be fine because he has that mindset, not one of, oh, what am I going to lose here?
yeah. And that says more about the people commenting than it actually says about Ludwig. What you were saying earlier about, if you're still holding onto that drive, which is still holding onto what someone said a couple of days ago, if you're doing that, the pendulum's always swinging. So if you go into the past, that's going to push you into the future, and you start kind of worrying about the next drive. Am I going to snap hook the next drive? Am I going to hit the next drive in the rough? So in life terms, then you start going to start worrying. Oh, what's this person going to say about me? What do they have to earn? And you're going to be bouncing between the past and the future, but they don't exist. So actually, what you're only bouncing between is your memory and your imagination. So internal focus is just going to recalling your, playing the movie of off your projector of what you believe the past to be and what you're focusing on, and the imagination of what the future could potentially be. None of that is reality. None of that
No.
is, it's gone. You're either too late or too early. And if you can be with yourself enough and understand yourself enough to realize that that's going to occur. It's a natural phenomenon for us humans in this experiencing that we're having, and notice it for what it is, and gently intervene and set that boundary and go, actually, that is what it is, and it will be whatever it's going to be. But I'm just here right now, and I have to be here for this next shot. If I was still, you know, playing a movie in my head about my drive, I wouldn't have been able to hit that shot off the hill and then sink the putt and walk off of the putt. That just wouldn't have been available to me.
Hey, great job making that par, by the way.
Oh, great job of making your par, by the way. I had an interesting start. I forgot to tell you earlier. On the PGA Tour, more putts are made for par than for birdie from the same distance.
Ah, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, why though? What do you think's
Because
happening?
I think that I spoke about golf being a game of imperfection, and as you kind of get better, and pros are obviously the best that there is, the game's all about mitigating mistakes. And so I think them for sure, like, and I've watched a lot of sort of YouTube clips of pros now talking through their process, and it's just like to the point of being quite maniacal of like, I need to not make mistakes and make a bigger number. So I think if you're missing a par putt and making a bogey, then that's a big error on the scorecard, even though they're both worth one shot. There must be some level of I just can't miss this because I can't make
Yeah,
bogey. Whereas
the
if I make
focus
birdie, I'm
is
like, oh, good, I got a birdie, that's great, but par's still okay.
yeah. So it's not as important. A birdie isn't important as a par. So the focus there for a birdie is less than the focus for a par. We're more honed in, we're more tuned in, we're more present when we're making a par. An 8 foot putt for par, we're going to make that more often than an 8 foot putt for birdie.
Yeah, that's why I was watching the PJ on the YouTube channel released the Tiger 2000 thing. It's really good. I watched it the other day. It's
Mm.
like just a bit of a documentary on that year, his wins in 2000. Um, but it was highlighting, the US Open that he won by 15 shots and possibly the best golf ever played. But where on that
It did okay
last,
that year, did he?
well, where it went okay, yeah. It'll be a bit like me the rest of this year, I reckon. Um, yeah.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, hello. Hey. And him and a lot of great athletes have done this. It's like they're playing their own game to create that importance. Because like he's up by like 13 shots. Like he's not going to lose, but he's like, oh, I'm not making bogey on this last round. And there's that thing where it was on 16 or 17, he made like an 8 footer for par and fist pumped like he just done something amazing, but he's up by 15 from the second place because he's like he's making that importance when things from an objective point of view weren't that important.
And that's such an interesting thing because there's been another example of golfers having a big lead leading into the final day and imploding. Greg Norman being one of them, unfortunately, and because they've turned up, with I've already won it. It's in the bag. They're so far in the future and seeing themselves holding up the trophy and spending, the money that's going to be in their imaginary bank account that they lose focus. It happened. We had it on well, I had it on at the Gold Coast Club SGA Championships. I was leading, first, second, and third day, playing some great golf, and then you got shot by a sniper out of the trees on the first hole, and did you back? And my focus just wasn't there. An old mate snuck up behind us and pipped me at the post. Did a Bradbury.
Yeah, I think some
So
of the yeah, like the pros like have those capitulations. Like I can see, like I've had it before when I'm like just playing and I've got look like I might shoot my best round, and all of a sudden all this chemistry is going through your body, and it's like something like teeing off in front of all those people, your childhood dream is to win the Masters, and you've got this lead. Like I've heard guys say a lot, they can't even feel their body anymore. It's like I
yeah,
hope I can hit
totally.
the ball. I do this for a living, but I hope I can
Yeah.
hit the ball.
So I know I shouldn't take driver off this hole, but I'm taking it because it's the biggest club.
Yeah. That's a great
I've heard
rationale.
players say
Have
that.
you?
I heard in the Masters in post tournament interview wrap uppy thing, they were talking to Rory's putting coach Brad Faxon, and Rory had famously missed a 3-footer at the US Open last year to lose the tournament, um, and he missed a couple of putts at the Masters as well. Made a lot of putts as well, but they missed some. And they were saying, "What happens there? Like you're his putting coach. What happens?" And Brad was so wonderful. He said, he's still a human. He's not immune to nerves. He's not
Yeah.
immune to cortisol and adrenaline coursing through his body. And when we all have sort of a golfing DNA or a way of doing things, I suppose. And for Rory, his default is to pull a putt. And when he's not in full command of himself and his game, that's his tendency. And he said, that's what we saw. That's what we see. And he most of the time he does a great job of managing himself and staying regulated. But there are times also he hasn't won a major for 10 years. He's got the opportunity to do it. Nerves are going to be absolutely off the Richter scale, and he pulled it. So we're human. And that's what Rory's done. That's resiliency for me is finding the value in whatever the challenge has been and becoming better for having been through it. And Rory hadn't won a major for 10 years after winning sort of 4 or 5 in quick succession. Um, and he had the whole golfing world saying, "Oh, you're going to win heaps. You're going to win heaps." And he's like, "That's nice of them to say, but it just puts so much pressure on me.
Mm.
I love that they believe in me, but that's also a lot of expectations from the outside world."
Yeah, I mean, we speak so
So
much about expectation of ourselves, but like, just imagine having all that expectation externally as well and trying your best to block that out and just focus on, the process and what's important.
that's what he's been able to do. He's been able to go, okay, I'm just going to cocoon myself. And it was interesting after the round. He you couldn't have scripted it any better. So Bryson um, got up and down from a bunker in the US Open to win the US Open after Rory missed that 3-footer, and then they're playing in the final round together of the Masters, like high drama. And Bryson started to unravel, and I could see that coming over the course of the first 3 days. He was relying way too heavily on his short game. Um, and then after the round, he's like, "Yeah, Rory didn't even say anything to me." And so many people were like, "Why the fuck would he? He wasn't out there on a social stroll to." He said, "I'm going to cocoon myself. I'm going to isolate myself," and good on him.
Yeah. I mean, they asked him, like, what did he say to you today? He just said he didn't say anything. So,
Yeah.
Once again, that's the outside voices get a bit too much. All right, well, that was a golf episode today. Golf is a metaphor for life, I think.
Mhm.
We've been holding back. We've been holding back for so long and just not talking
I know.
about just golf for a whole
I know.
episode. So,
I
it
know.
had to happen.
With the Rory win, I mean, the lid's off now. Don't be surprised if he goes on a generational tear and
I thought you meant the
wins
lid's off, as
heaps.
in we're going to make every episode about golf now,
We
because
can
that might
certainly
happen
do
too.
that. I think we can always pivot. So
Yeah,
let's just use golf as a vehicle to talk about mental health.
the Golf Blokes podcast.
That'd be great. Well, nice to have you
Beautiful.
back.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Yeah,
Hope
it's
you get
great.
some decent sleep.
I've been sleeping great since we've been back. So,
Do you want me to come and spoon you tonight?
no.
Sort of pat you and soothe you and whisper
Mm.
lullabies into your
That
ear.
that that might make me go back to getting on the gear, actually.
Nick, what's that in my back? Yeah, nothing. Nothing. Just go to sleep.
3.5 inches,
Just
that's what it is.
go to sleep, or I'll put you to sleep.
I'm glad we wrapped it up on such a high note. All right. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Likewise.
We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.